to WRULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. The viewpoints expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. The following program contains subject matter that in realistic language that some listeners may find objectionable. Listener discretion is advised. All right, got all that good stuff out of the way. You are now live with Real Talk. And tonight we have a special guest in the house. Of course, all of our guests are special, you know, because we all about Black power, Black empowerment. I'm telling you, don't worry about this. Well, we have the Executive Director of Parent University, Mr. Michael O'Neal, in the studio with us tonight. Clap it up. We really do need like sound effects or something.
Working on it. We're still working on that.
Yeah, so he's going to tell us about everything 2019 Parent University, everything Mr. Michael O'Neal, all the great initiatives that he has going on in the community. So I'm going to stop talking. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Mr. O'Neal. Tell us who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. As you've already said, my name is Michael O'Neal, and I'm the Executive Director of Parent University, which has been around in the community for a few years. So, well, actually, this is our 20th year.
I thought so. I'm like, I've heard of Parent
20th
University.
year, yeah, y'all were probably
Wow.
in elementary school when,
You know.
when we started this.
You know.
But, time flies.
Yes.
We started this back in 2000. Actually, 1999 is when we were having the conversations. So being 2019, you know, time has flown. And essentially what we do is we get together from time to time to give parents learning opportunities.
Okay.
Some people will say, well, why do parents need learning opportunities? Well, if you're a parent, you may realize there are times where you are not sure exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of parents, when they come to that situation, they're, I don't know, they got some feelings about asking for information.
That's it.
Sometimes you could say embarrassment or pride or some old experiences of being judged when you were in school and somebody said, you don't know that? Or, you know, you got the wrong answer or something like that. And so for a lot of parents, when they got through school, whatever that was, whether it was junior high school or high school or college or post-secondary schools up to doctorate, when they got finished, they said they were finished. I'm finished with learning. And what we found out that's a dangerous posture. You should never be finished learning. So me and a few parents, and my gosh, we could go into this story to some depth, but essentially me and some parents back in 1999 got together and created an environment where parents don't feel judged. They don't feel as though they're going to be criticized for not knowing something, where they're going to have a say in how the learning happens. And our premise was, if we do this, that these parents will come out to school. Now, the accepted knowledge is you ain't getting parents out to no school to train. Are you kidding me? You know, they're busy. They got other things to do. And yeah, that's true. But our belief was, if you market it correctly, if you create the environment where parents are going to come out and have fun while they learn, then you'll be able to get them to come out, and you'll be able to get them to come out in big numbers. And that was 20 years ago. And today, we are having more parents come to more things than we ever have. So we think our model has demonstrated that we had some things right.
Okay. How was it at first, though?
Okay, well, you know, I was watching a tape the other day. When we started this thing, Floyd Adams was the mayor.
That was wild.
Yeah, Floyd Adams was mayor. And Virginia Edwards was the superintendent of schools.
That's right.
Yes.
yeah,
That's throwback.
yeah.
It was a throwback.
And well, what happened? What had happened was the Floyd Adams had like a kind of a difficult election. Kind of you know, he was our first African American mayor, right? And of course, the mayoral race, of course, it had some racial connotations, some racial overtones. You know, of course, that's going to happen, right? And so Floyd Adams approached me as a part of my faith group and asked us to let me be a member of his what he called his Human Relations Commission. Okay, so you know, we had met a few times, and on the news you started seeing these things kind of popping up on the news about some racial situations that was occurring in some of our schools, and some of our local ministers were about to call for a boycott of schools. And so being a part of that Human Relations Commission, and Floyd saying, well, Human Relations Commission, why don't y'all try to do something about this, see if this would be a good thing for us to do. That way it keeps him directly out of it. And on the Human Relations Commission, you had multiple faiths, you had Christians and Muslims, I'm Baha'i, you had various people on that commission. So it looked more like the community was doing it than him doing it. And so we threw some ideas around. And thought that maybe we could come up with an idea that could help keep our schools from having to go through something like a boycott. You know, you really don't. In a city, if you get to the place where people are picketing schools, that's just not the best environment for our kids.
Right, I agree.
Right, and also it's going to take all the headlines.
Right.
So that's all you're going to read about in the little 2 minutes that education gets on the news. That 2 minutes is going to be taken up with somebody with picket signs or something like that. It's just not a good environment. Well, before I go any farther, let me tell you something else about myself. I'm not a professional educator. You know, have never worked for the school system. My background is as an electrician at International Paper.
Really?
Union Camp. Y'all, some of y'all might remember it.
Yes.
That's my expertise in the matter comes from the fact that I'm the father of 4 and the grandfather of 10. All right.
Wow.
So when I approach this dilemma, I approach it from those 2 points of view. One of those things is that I'm not approaching it as a professional teacher. I'm approaching it as a parent.
Right.
But the reason I tell you about that electrician thing is because as an electrician, and I did it for like 40 years, there was hardly a day that went by that I didn't have training. Hardly a day. Even in 40 years. Even if it's just a quick safety briefing in the morning, you get training every time you show up. And if you don't know something, they'll pay you to go and learn about it, right? Well, there was a response that I had every time my boss, and suppose I went to work on something and it didn't go so well, and I blew it up, and we was down for a while, right? And you know, people ain't happy. Well, my boss's response was, we're going to get you training. We're going to send you off somewhere. We're going to pay you to go. And when I came home, now rather than feeling like I was being punished, I felt like, wow, they value me, right? And so I got training all the time. But I remember going to school when my child's teacher would call me. And if my child's teacher insinuated that there was something I didn't know about parenting, I didn't have the same feeling that I had when my boss told me they were sending me to school. I kind of felt, you know, uh-oh. Is he or she attacking me? You know, I'm not feeling this, you know. I'm feeling defensive.
Right.
Okay, I'm not doing something right. They're saying I'm in a deficit situation. Something about the way I do what I do at home is affecting my child negatively. And all of a sudden now, I don't want to hear no more about what they're saying. So we had to examine this dynamic. And so here we are. So I need to give you that background, that I get it. I get it that parents feel a certain kind of way when you talk to them about parent training. Because it's associated with something being wrong.
Right.
It's associated more than something being wrong, something you did wrong.
Yep.
Or you're doing wrong. So that's, you got to acknowledge that is real, that people feel that way. So here we go with this boycott about to happen, being threatened to happen, and we're trying to find a way to fix that. So what some of us did is we went and started talking to parents in small groups and asking them, hey, y'all, what's up? What do y'all think we ought to do with the schools? With the schools to stop this talk of boycotting and all this kind of stuff. And I would approach them not as a professional from school, but as a dad who had the same feelings they had, and we just wanted to fix this. And they would share some things, and like fire superintendent, vacate everything at the school, blah blah blah. And I said, well, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I'm feeling your sentiment, but me personally, Michael O'Neill, I gotta wonder if I'm doing everything I should be doing as a parent. And I said, before I want to go rebuild the structure, the school system, I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. And then we ask, what do you think about that? And they say, that makes sense.
Right.
So why don't we make sure we got our act together and then see where we want to go with this? And from that angle, I was able to create an atmosphere of trust with the parents.
Right.
You see, now I'm not
a unified front.
a unified front. I'm not talking down to them.
Right.
We sharing the space, right? And so I did that for like all of 1999, pretty much. In the meantime, I'm going and talking to people like school boards and stuff like that, and frankly, at that point, they weren't really wanting to hear it because I'm an electrician. And there's some anxiety in the schools, in the community around this whole subject. So why do they want to work with us to do whatever it is we want to do when we're talking about possibly boycotting? Well, over time, I was able to talk to enough parents and get this kind of information from them. And this is very important. I would ask the parents from the very first time we met, what would you support? What do you want to get out of this?
Right.
Now see, the reason that's big is because most people are told what they need. And it's not that people don't mean well. They mean well. I mean, maybe they've invested a whole bunch of years in school or wrote a book or, got a big old loan to pay back to prove it, right?
Being real.
Okay. And so when they're offering this, they're offering it from a place, that they think is well-meaning. But how do you feel when somebody tells you what's wrong with you? How does any of us feel?
I don't take that well at all.
They better be really right. It better resonate with us, or are we going to come up with that defensive self? So what we did is we asked parents, what do you think you need? How do you think we can be better? See, that's kind of a different, and I had already told them, I'm just a parent. And I'm not, this ain't a trick. This ain't a shell game. I'm a parent. What can we do together? What do you do? What would you support? And see, at each one of those little groups we met with, I left with some suggestions. Like parents saying, and back in those days, the issue that parents wanted to talk about was, when I go in school, I feel like I'm in an alien world. I feel like there's a whole bunch of people sitting on chairs a little higher than mine, and they talking to me in a language I don't understand. They're using acronyms, all this stuff, and I don't know what they're talking about. And so, but I do hear them say, something's wrong with my child.
That's it.
I do hear that, and I assume that means me. I'm doing something wrong. So I come in there to advocate. I come in there to help my child, and before I know it, I'm in an adversarial discussion, adversarial atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it. What happened? Because I meant to come here to help my child. Now you done said something. I'm not even sure what it is, but something you said made me feel like I'm the villain here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one in deficit here. It's my fault.
Right.
And so now I'm defensive, and I just want you to realize that you ain't talking to no child.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
That's how that goes.
give me some respect.
That's right.
And I walk out the door because I done said something sharp, to assert my feeling of self, where I want to be. And then I walk up and I get to the car and say, oh, shucks. I didn't do what I meant to do when I came in on that meeting.
Yep.
That's not how I meant it to go. So a lot of parents just wanted to find a way to navigate the system.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare for a good conversation with your child's counselor, teacher, vice principals, the lady a man at the front desk that gives you an attitude when you walk in?
Yes.
You don't even get to talk to the people you need to talk to. How do you work that? So one of the things they said, one of the most important things they said at that time was tell us how to navigate schools. How do we do a best job? So I said to them, well, if I can't do something, then the best thing that ever happens to me is I go train how to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
I practice. I learn how to. I learn what things can support me, to make me do this well. Do I need to have another set of eyes to help me stay on track? To make me refocus when I'm going off the track, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that we would help them navigate the school system, navigate. Also, they wanted to know, well, if I don't have a good experience with my child's teacher, counselor, whatever, then what's my options? Sometimes you don't know. What's my options? You walk out of there, you mad with them, but you don't know what to do next.
Right.
So what's the hierarchy? I need to learn more about the school system, where I fit in it. Who's everyone's boss?
Boom.
You see?
Words right
So now you have leverage. You're sitting down, you feel like you have leverage. If they're using language like IEPs, you just name it, all the things.
504 plans, RTIs.
And it changes.
Yep.
By the way, and those acronyms change all the time. Even
Yep.
the ones working in the school system don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk in there, you get a few acronyms thrown at you, you're immediately not your best.
Right.
Right? You feeling a little energy now, right? Because they know you don't know what all them terms mean, right? So we did classes like that. I said, okay, I hear you. And I would, whatever they say, I would write down on a piece of paper where they could see me write it down. And I says, now we're going to get back together because there was 10 of us here tonight, but we need more people. So we're going to get together later. And so I did about, 15 or 20 of those meetings. And while those meetings were happening, I was also meeting, like I said, with the school system. Mm-hmm. I was meeting with the colleges, people in the colleges. I was meeting with all the advocacies, people who take care of children and families. I was meeting with all those. And I was meeting with industry because, all this helps workforce development. All this helps the community. And everybody said, if you can pull this off, if you can get the school to support what you're doing, we'll support it too. Mm-hmm. And also I have to give a little props to Union Camp, international paper now. Because as an employee, they told me, Mike, this is a good community effort, and if you can move the dial on this, we'll support you.
That's awesome.
And they did. That's another part of the story.
That's awesome.
So, after several months, October of 1999, we all got together. All those parents that I met with, and some school people, and some business people, we got together and we have this meeting called Can We Talk? It was at a place called St. Pius. If y'all remember that.
The old
Savannah Classical Academy now, but St. Pius on Anderson Street. We all got together to have this conversation. And at that meeting, we created Parent University. You know, we had heard some possibilities about how to do it, how other communities did it. But at that meeting, I got up and asked everybody the questions I had asked them over that course of that year. But the main question I asked them is, once again, what will you support? Because when we leave here, this ain't going to be my idea. This is going to be our idea. You see?
And our responsibility to execute it.
Absolutely. And our word comes with our bond in this, right? So if you're going to tell me what you want, and I deliver what you tell me, I ain't got to chase after you now for you to do the part you said you would do. Because we're all honorable. Our word means something, right?
Exactly.
And frankly, I have found that for the last 20 years, I found that to be true. People will keep their word. People will keep their word if you engage them correctly. They want to keep their word. We all want to be honorable. We want to be our best. So if you create an environment where people can be their best, at some point when they really trust you, they'll do that. And so at that meeting, we once again I put that stuff on the board. I put that, write down what everybody said so they can see it.
Right.
See you valued it, right? And we wrote down the stuff. And I asked people in that meeting, what do y'all want? How can we make ourselves better? Tell me if you were coming out on some morning or some evening to train, what would you want to know? And we had talked about the teacher thing and the who's how to navigate.
Right.
But then people started saying things like, oh my God, when my child puts some of that math in front of me,
Yeah,
I get really anxious. I can't help them. So how about we help you not necessarily learn the math, but learn who to talk to about helping your child with the math. See, we're not going to all be experts on everything. And so our mission has become help people find information and then help people become comfortable with searching out information.
Yes.
You see, once you become comfortable saying, well, I don't know this, but I'm still the person in charge of my child's education.
Exactly.
Then they say, okay, then you go to the expert and say, I'm going to share some of this responsibility with you. I'm not giving up my responsibility. I'm sharing my responsibility, right? So some people said math, right? Some people, of course, said reading. Some people said they didn't understand all these tests that come up, right? So we started writing all this stuff down. But then the juices started flowing. They started getting comfortable.
Right.
I said, what else? What else do you need to learn? What else do you need to learn? And they said, sometime at the end of the month, the ends didn't last to the end of the month. Sometime the money ran out on about the 21st.
Yeah.
And the other 10 days was a struggle.
Right.
So how do I help? How do I help myself financially? Then all that kind of stuff started coming out. Finances, resume writing, a whole litany of stuff started coming out about more personal, more. They started. The premise is for Parent University and our activities. The premise is come help your child learn better. But the reality is, it's about helping yourself become better. Because see, if you're better, then there's a better chance of you being a better parent.
Yes.
To use the word better many times in a sentence.
Direct correlation.
Right? There's a direct correlation. You can tell people techniques and methods and all that kind of stuff, but if they feel bad about themselves, how likely is it that they will use any of these things?
Exactly.
But see, you can't tell a person something's wrong with them.
Right.
You see, that has to be something they discover and that they trust you enough to share. But what you tell them is, talk to me about what you want. I will do my best to deliver what you say. And in that process, we'll trust each other enough to make ourselves better of our own free will, not because somebody told us. So we came up with a whole bunch of classes, and it even came about things like relationship building, visitation, just a whole bunch of classes. So we had about 20 classes. We said, now, we got 20 classes here. Right? What we're going to do, we can't do this all in one day.
Right.
So how about if we take 15 of them and we list them and you get to pick 2 or 3 of them in that day. But then we have to keep coming back
Right.
and get more. And the parents agreed. And so they agreed to Saturdays. This is what these parents in Savannah, I want to reiterate here, we created what the community said. Another community might have picked something else.
Right.
And that's the direction we would have went. But we picked what this community said. So then we'd agree to meet on Saturday. And then I asked them these questions. What will stop you from fulfilling your pledge? What will stop you from doing this? Come on now. Be honest. What will stop you? What reasons will stop you from, we done agree that this is what we need. Now what will stop you from coming? Look, I gotta fix breakfast for my children. I got stuff to do. I don't have no free time. And so what if we'll give you child care while you're at this event? Would that help? He said, yeah. And so, but still, I mean, they got to eat. I can't let them sit here hungry. And I can't. Says, what if we will give you breakfast when you get here and lunch before you leave?
Wow.
That's well, that's not that's
Right.
a good idea. That's a pretty good idea.
That's a done deal.
That's a pretty good idea. Well, you know, it starts to sound good, but I know better. You know what I'm talking about? Because you know what? That bed feels good on Saturday morning. You know what I'm talking about? You might be watching your favorite movie, your favorite cartoons or something like that. And it's real easy. And the children in the next room that you got to get 3 dressed. So these parents or more. So you got to there's got to be some incentive, right? So he said, so now we'll give you breakfast, watch your children, we'll give you time to get these classes, then we'll feed you lunch. Do you need more?
I didn't need anything else personally.
Well, I look to see you ladies at the next session.
Absolutely.
But some of them I know needed more. Some of us need more.
Yeah.
So we say, how you gonna get here? You say, well, maybe I'll get my cousin to bring me. Oh Lord, right? Okay, you know what I'm saying? Because okay, so now the reason is going to be I couldn't get my cousin to bring me, right? So what if we will come to your house and pick you up? Oh, that's great. And we'll take you home after we feed you lunch.
So y'all leave no space for excuses.
Right.
Basically, there's no space.
That's you would think, right? Right? But that's not enough. That's not enough. Remember I told you that when my boss sent me to training, what did I say about training when he sent me to training?
You felt empowered.
I felt empowered. I also felt paid.
Absolutely. That's the most important
Okay. They paid me.
Value.
I felt valued, and how did they prove they value? Well, they paid me, and they put me up in the hotel.
They took care of
you know what I'm talking about? They took care of my meal.
Expense.
So I really felt valued. Now we know we can't do that, but we could give away prizes to some of the parents.
See, that's where you lost me because I never win door prizes.
Oh, I tell you what.
I always win. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. There is some things everybody gets. Some things
Now you won.
everybody gets. So we
Exactly.
know we got but most things because you got to be real careful with this. You got to be real careful and not negate a person's sense of ownership and pride and incentive, their own personal drive. You got to be careful how you distribute resources like that.
Right.
Because if you do it wrong, now you've taken their pride from the whole process.
Right.
So what we do is, even though we might give away on a holiday, we might give away a gift card for a turkey.
Nice.
Okay? But most of the time, it'll be a raffle ticket. And I bet you'd be the first one to win when you come to the next one. Now, some people say, well, why do you give away things like that? Well, let me tell you. When we first started this thing, we used to make tens of thousands of flyers. Tens of thousands of flyers. Do y'all know what printing costs?
It's
You
a lot.
sure do.
It's
Was it
a
in
lot.
color?
So, yeah,
Oh,
some of them
yeah,
work.
more.
Double,
Oh.
triple the price.
When we could, and then we said, oh wait, we can't afford that at all because so now we had to go to colored paper, right?
That works.
Yeah.
It catches your
Right.
attention still.
Right.
But the results of flyers, if you send 10,000 flyers out, you might get 10 people to show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They sit in the kids' book bags and they crumple up and it doesn't look important anymore. So you know what flyers are to me? Flyers are like that confetti you see at a parade.
But you know, except for us nerdy moms, like I collect all those newsletters. I read them in details.
Mhm.
Like I didn't
Mhm.
tell you anything that's going on.
She is. She's
All right.
Well, we definitely need you.
Hey, I'll be. But we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to take a quick break right now. You're listening to Real Talk on WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with Global Soul.
We are back, y'all. Real Talk in the building with Mr. Michael O'Neill dropping these gems on us about Parent University and its origins and its purpose, its mission, and its vision and the sustainability. So please continue.
Well, first,
No, but-
go ahead and let everyone know when the next Parent University session will be.
Oh yes. Well, the next Parent University session will be that's our Parent University West Side, and that's at Godley Station K to 8, January 26th, from 9 to 1:30, and then we'll be back on this side of town at Brock Elementary on February 2nd.
Okay.
All right, and if there's a website or anything they can visit,
Yes, they
we'll
can.
mention it again at the end, but just so you
Okay.
give people a heads up.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna tell anybody if they want to hear about Parent University, there's one thing you need to do, and that's you need to call this number. That's 912 507 8566. And if the person doesn't answer the phone, they will respond to you very soon.
Okay.
This is my
So that's-
number.
Okay, we got the
Yeah.
direct line
Right.
here.
Even 20 years later, I still get direct calls. I'd rather people hear from me first.
That's awesome. Direct engagement, not just robocalls and automated messaging, all of that stuff you normally see. That's that's how you maintain the community's trust.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, we do all the above. We do every type of media to connect with parents that we can find. If it's Facebook, if it's Twitter, if it's robocalls, if it's text messages. But you can call me anytime because this is my personal. This is what I've dedicated my life to doing. And so and I think we've proven over the years, at 20 years later, that this can be done. And I got to remember, I took you guys all the way back to how it started. But at our first Parent University back in 2000, Diane Cantor was the president of the Savannah-Chatham County School Board. And I remember her calling me the night before and wondering, well, were we going to have to eat all this chicken? Because we had this food that we had assembled. And I said, no, Diane, I believe we're going to be all right. Well, the first Parent University had over 200 people there.
Bless you.
Now,
200. What did
200
y'all
people?
have? All
over
these
200 people at Esther Garrison Elementary.
Hey.
Esther
that's
Garrison.
right.
Salion Johnson was the principal.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
That sounds like before my
Yes.
time.
That was right at my time.
Yes, yeah. You see, no one believed that parents were going to come out. Everyone thought, not everyone, but a significant part of the community thought, and still does today, that you cannot get parents to come out on Saturday morning just to train. See, we don't get parents out by saying, come watch your kid play the clarinet or football or debate. See, Parent University is about the parent
Parents.
coming out to train. Because we feel like when the children understand that the parent is pursuing learning, the parent's pursuing learning. Now, we're trying to flip this. See, in most houses, school's about the child. And of course, we want to encourage that, but we want to come at it from another angle. We want the child to see that learning is essential for mom and dad. You see, so then it's the conversation about learning is easy or easier for a parent to say, listen, I'm taking classes too.
Yeah.
When a child says, you just don't know what it's like in school. Well, yeah, I do.
Right.
We know, me and you go to Parent University all the time, early learning college, and have a good time and so and so and so and so. So I really want the listeners to understand that what we do is we train parents to be better, knowing that the major recipient of this behavior will be the child. So I just want to kind of clear that up. That's what Parent University is about. Is training a parent to be the first teacher of the child, to feel responsible for it, or feel responsible for that child's learning from the time that child's in the womb. See? And so, our first couple years, we had amazing turnouts. We went to Esther Garrison, we went to Schumann. I've met a lot of Duran Elementary. We've been to Brock. Oh my gosh. Juliet Lowe.
Ooh.
Andrea Williams is called now. Haven Elementary. We've been to so many schools. I know I'm leaving something out, and forgive me. But we've been all over the place. Savannah High, Johnson, Beach. We've been to a lot of places. And everywhere we get those same kind of numbers of parents that come out. Now, and what happened was, here's what happened along the line, is our parents, they got into this. They got really into this. By the way, we have a major graduation every year at the Savannah Civic Center.
Really?
Yeah, hundreds of people graduate.
That's good to know.
Every year at Savannah Civic Center. In the Johnny Mercer Theater, they have caps. Then after, they have music. There's various dignitaries on the stage shaking their hand as they come across. Now, why is that important? That's important because their family is in the audience. Their children are in the audience. They're watching their parent walk across the stage and get a diploma in parenting. You see, so the whole process of learning now is, okay, this is what we do.
Right.
This is what Smiths, Williams, Jones, this is what we do, is we go out and learn. And this whole Parent University and early learning college thing that we do, this is our thing. This is our culture.
Right.
You see, so we have overcome that thing I talked about earlier where people said, I'm finished learning. See, that's the important, that to me, that's one of the most insidious things that has descended on our community. It's this feeling that you stop learning at some point. And it becomes somebody else's job to be the expert of your life. You see, personally, I'm not when I go to get my car fixed, right, there may be a mechanic in there working on it, but I'm the owner of the car.
Yep.
Right, and it's got to come to me. He got to tell me something, and he got to work with me. And certainly no less for our children and our own education that we got to own that process.
Right.
It's not the process of the experts. They get the help.
Yes.
They're, and I want to say honorable because it is honorable, but they're help. They're not the leader of my learning. Do y'all feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It actually, that links up with the point Dr. Umar made when he came to Savannah, what was it, like 2 years?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Speaking of the IEPs, how we're just allowing the schools to diagnose our children, and we're the experts on our children, ultimately. So how can we allow someone without that necessary, you're a teacher, no offense, you're not a doctor, you're not a psychologist. So you're not going to tell my child that, and that's where the rebelling comes in, what you were talking about. You're not going to tell me, but at the same time, I know my child. So his main thing, though, was about stopping the medications from being shoved down our young black boys that are unnecessary.
I got it. And so, in order for us to make good decisions, we have to be educated about the process.
Absolutely.
We got to know. And see, they may be the expert in some narrow field. And like I say, if my car starts acting up tomorrow and doing some things I'm not sure about, or even if I'm sure about, I'm still going to take it to the person that might have some tools that can help me. But see, it's about being the major stakeholder. Regardless of what happens to my child in this 17, 18, 19 years of learning, that's going to be my child the rest of their life. The other people are getting paid, and they're doing their job in this window, this narrow window. I still got to be the parent if the child turns out good or bad, the rest of their life. So I am hugely more stakeholding than they are.
There you go.
So I want to transition to children showing up to school not ready for school. You've all heard about it, right? Well, one of the things we learned at Parent University in 12th grade, a lady wanted to go for her child to go to school when she came to college, and she came to me and said, Mr. O'Neill, man, I just learned some stuff this year at Parent University, and if I had known it earlier, when the child was in the 8th grade, we would have made some different decisions in junior high, right? Or what do we call it here, junior high?
It's
middle school. All right, I'm from Philadelphia, excuse me.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
Okay. Then some people in middle school saying, well, I wanted my child to do this, but they say I should have did something in 5th grade. Right? And you already know about how the epidemic of children failing in the 3rd grade. Right? You know they built jails.
Yeah, a pipeline to prison.
Okay.
They started looking at the data. I've heard they started looking at the data in kindergarten.
That's
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, it's tragic. And I know you hear about kids that are repeating kindergarten.
Yep.
Okay? So, in that uncomfortable cloud, it should be clear, and this is not a platitude. This is not, we're just not being kind and being flattering. That preparation for school is the realm of the parent. Because you just said, when a child's 1 or 2, first of all, or 3, science says that's when 85% of the brain development is happening.
Yep.
And the word gap is created during that time. Okay? So if the parent isn't engaged in this process, who's going to do it? You see, this is where the perfect storm happens. We have people who are waiting for children to go to school. Man, as soon as my child get old enough, I'm going to send them to school. The child's brain development is or is not happening as it should. And the child gets to school and is behind their peers when they get there. And not only is that child behind, but that parent hasn't practiced being a teacher. So that parent does not have the empathy and the understanding of the teaching process to be a good partner with the teacher. So the parent says, well, Mr. O'Neill, we like this whole Parent University thing, but we would have really liked it if we would have learned these techniques earlier so that it would change the narrative. When we got older, we'd be asking different questions. We'd be in the advanced class. So what we did, and what some other members of our community, who I happened to meet, and it was just changed our lives, we met some philanthropic, I'm going to throw that out there, we met some philanthropic entities in the community. And these are people that are, they want our community to be better too. They want a better workforce. And these people have resources that maybe I didn't have.
the key word.
That was the
Okay.
As soon as you said that, I already knew where you were going with that.
Well, they give money every year. Every year they give to their charities, and they had done studies that told them these chronic issues that they're giving money to every year. The budget goes up every year. They're not making any impact. These chronic issues are all correlatable to low educational outcomes. See, we just talked about 3rd grade, school, prison pipeline, all that. But just as much, people that want this to be a better community in many ways are saying the correlation is these children who happen to fall in this dynamic, in this demographic, are having poor educational outcomes. So they come to me and say, we hear you have a connection with these parents. Could we begin a dialogue about how to start this conversation earlier? And my parents had already been telling me that, because we don't do anything without our parents' permission. So every year, the first thing we do, and I'm sitting here with witnesses, is that we have a parent reflection gathering. That's the first meeting every year, where parents tell us, what did we do well last year? What should we do better? What should be our direction? Because remember how we started this thing. Mm-hmm. I got small groups of parents together to say, what does success look like? Essentially is what I asked them. We have never stopped that. Mm-hmm. Every year we get together and say, what does success look like? Mm-hmm. So they had been saying, let's start earlier. Well, then I get phone calls and meetings at Starbucks and things like that with these other entities, and they said, our studies, they did it their way. Our studies show us that if we engage parents in teaching their children, in earnest at home, give them best practices, the latest techniques, current best way. Mm-hmm. We give them all that the outcome will be their child will be more prepared for school at school age. Yeah. And so we started that. We called that early learning college. You've heard me say the word early learning college. See, the first thing was Parent University. The first one was Parent University, and that was just to re-engage parents with the learning process. Right. But now that we've been doing it about 10 years, and parents are saying that they want to learn stuff earlier, well, we said, we need to start something else. And so when we run into this other part of our other neighbors who say, well, we're finding out that if parents learn younger, their children are going to come to school better prepared, then let's help them do that, and then we have a better educated workforce. And then we can give less money to truancy, less money to teen pregnancy, less money to that, and the other.
Of the root cause.
You see? So everybody wins, but the big thing is that the parents are now engaged in the learning of their child from before the womb. Mm-hmm. And when their child shows up to school with a few thousand extra words in their head, mm-hmm. also showing up as a parent that now can talk to the teacher and say, look, I know my child. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know my child. All right, I know. Right. I can tell you some things. I can help you with this job that we're doing.
And that's what it is. It's a partnership.
That's right. And there's so there's a partner type empathy that you have between you two. I know your job's going to be hard. You know what I'm talking about? Because I've been doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm here for you because I understand now. I didn't show up, and I don't feel
on the defense,
overwhelmed, mm-hmm. and talked down to, because I understand my place as a stakeholder. So then we started early learning college. So we went from doing 4 parent universities a year in about 2010 or something to nowadays we do 20 parent universities and early learning colleges.
That's awesome.
Wow.
A year.
That's awesome.
And we were at, last weekend, Savannah Classical Academy, and you remember I told you it was 200 people mm-hmm. at Esther Garrison, and we was tickled to death. It was 200 people at Esther Garrison. 20 years later, we was at Savannah Classical Academy, and it was closer to 300.
Wow.
And we're doing it 20 times a year.
Wow.
We were only doing it. So the numbers and the intensity of the people who are participating is spiking.
Yeah, someone responded. She actually said, "Hey, boss, Mr. O'Neill, Miriam Munn."
Miriam Munn.
And she said it's about close to 200. That's just one of the ones she was able to attend.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you got some verified sources there.
Miriam Munn.
And you love fact checking.
Right.
She knows what she's talking about. Yes, she does. And people like Miriam are people that we send out to all of the family events in schools mm-hmm. and sign people up and give us the list of names for us to call people. This is a very Parent University and Early Learning College is a very relationship-oriented endeavor. It's about making friends. It's about, we call it school because it needs to be called school, but it's really about making friends, creating networks. Because any of us who are a parent understands that parenting is isolating. It's almost naturally isolating because it's you. You know what I'm saying? And your child is some extension of you, right? And so when things go wrong or not like you like them to go, as life happens to all of us,
Yes.
it makes us feel as though we are exposing ourselves. So what we need is support.
Right.
We need support. We need friends. We need people who have said, I've been there. I'm doing this. The same thing happened to me, and I'll help you.
That empathy.
That empathy. So that's what we're doing now. We've gone from 4 to 20 things a year, and now we go to places like because some parents don't come to large things like 200, 300. You can
That's a
come
lot,
to.
though.
Oh, listen. Let just a quick contrast here. I've been to many things that were planned for months, and the day it happened, if you got 10 people there or 20 people there, people are saying, "Whew, at least it ain't a goose egg, right? At least it ain't 0, right?" So I understand that if you got 10 or 20, some events are called a success. If we had 20 people, we'd be wondering, is the world coming to an end?
Right.
Because for us, we've almost become jaded that if and when I say these 200 or 300 people, let me remind you that I'm talking about the parents and the children. Because in our world, you can't invite parents out to learn for several hours and not include the children. You see, that's why it's still Parent University and Early Learning College. Because I can't ask you
To just leave your kids.
to leave your kids and come out and learn, right?
Yeah.
And so this is how we not just tell them that they're valued, but we demonstrate to them that they're valued, because they are. And so for parents that can't come out to the large venues, the parent universities, and the early learning colleges, and once again, the early learning colleges are specifically for early learning. You won't have 30 classes like you will have at Parent University. You'll have, say, 7 or 8, but then they'll all be about early learning and leadership. Because even if you create a child that knows more vocabulary, can read better, if the community that you send them out to still devours them,
Yes.
you see, then what if, that's...
Yes.
So not only do you have to work inside your home, but as a leader, you have to learn also to create a nurturing environment for your child. See, that's the next part that you can do with parents once they've gained confidence in themselves, that they can do a good job with their child in the house. Now we got to go out in the community and create a nurturing environment. So those are the 2 things that you learn in early learning college.
I don't want to minimize your efforts with your initiatives, but when I say it's a grassroots organization, take that in the highest form, because you see organizations now who are just disengaged from the audience they're intending to serve, and you're right there in their face.
Yes.
You have built that trust.
Yes.
You have built that confidence, and you're building empowered individuals on a face-to-face basis. It's not a webinar. It's not a PowerPoint presentation. This is human contact here,
Yes.
and that's why your sessions are always so large.
Yes.
When people hear about that, oh, nobody's just talking at me. Because people talk at people.
Right.
The
all day
relatability.
long. Yeah,
Right. No,
that
it is
relationship
literally
building.
started in my home. I mean, literally, my children were asking me, "Dad, why are we separating all these flyers?" They're glad we finally got past that point. It's very face to face. It's very human, It's very relationship driven. That's what it is. And I was able to do this, and I have to say this again, is because I had a good job. I was an electrician at Union Camp. I wasn't worrying about
Are you in the union?
Absolutely. I'm
See.
an IBEW journeyman electrician.
Wait, see, here it is. It's 9:56. We don't even have time to talk about that.
Yeah.
We
So-
can talk about unions one day.
Right.
But well, please have me back.
we
I'm
will.
40 years
Yeah,
in.
you have
I'm
to
40
tell us
years in
more.
a union.
Wow.
So and I was able to do the right thing because I wasn't worried about how I was going to have my next meal. Now I've retired this year because
Oh, congratulations.
people from and the only reason I was, I'm a little too young for all that.
Yeah.
But the only reason I was able to do that is because those resource people that I told you about created a financial package, which allowed me to walk away from international paper. So it wasn't something to laugh at. But that's how important they thought our work was, so that I was able to leave early enough for us to continue this journey on even a higher trajectory than we had been.
Oh, this is
That's
exciting,
amazing.
man.
That's the rest of the story. There's so much happening in the next couple of weeks. We've
Shed some light on a little bit of it.
Okay,
you got 3 minutes.
okay. Well, in the last few weeks, we have made partnerships with very large established entities like EOA, Head Start.
Okay.
We are now full partners
Wow.
with them in the training of their parents.
Wow.
Now, hear what I'm saying. People that train people professionally now have come to us and
major
signed
deal.
contracts saying,
Yeah.
you and I are partners. The Savannah-Chatham County Public School System, who is starting a early learning thing at
Yes.
East Broad, we're the trainer for the parents. Remember, this started in the living room. See, this is a paradigm shift completely. And just a couple of weeks ago, we formed a relationship with a league of churches that's going to start encouraging their members to work with us. Some of you may have heard of the Berean Baptist
Yes.
Association.
Yes.
So that's a league of 45
Yes.
churches, 15,000 members.
One of our churches is
See,
associated
well,
with that.
well, you'll be hearing about us soon. And we recently had one of our sessions at Kingdom Life.
Pastor Roberson.
Well, Pastor Robeson, I want to give him a shout out because they were the first church to ever have us do a full parent university in their facility. So not only now are we working within the public school system kind of environment, now entities throughout the community are working with us officially to train their parents because of this personal relationship rich methodology that we have been nurturing for 2 decades. Some people could say we're the experts at this.
There you go.
I mean, that's safe to say at this
There you
point.
go. Yeah.
You can certainly put that out there for argument. That's for
You know
certain.
what you're doing. It seems to be working.
It seems
Right.
to be working. So I'm looking forward to the next 5-10 years that we'll break ground on even some more exciting territories.
Well, we are definitely excited to see what you have in store for 2019 and beyond. You've made the past 20 years great for our community, and we're very excited.
It's actually made our community great.
Right.
Thank
Make
you.
Savannah great, not again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. And then once again, can you share with us how we can get in contact with you?
Yes, you can find us on the Savannah-Chatham County Public School website, Parent University. We're actually listed on theirs. You can actually call my number, 912-507-8566. Call me or text me anytime. If I don't answer, I'll get back with you. And we also can be found on the Savannah ECF. So the word SavannahECF.org, which is kind of our financial arm.
Okay.
And then you'll learn more about those parts of the community that have come together to raise money for us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an incredible story, and it's not finished. Not
Awesome.
finished.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mr. Michael O'Neill with Real Talk tonight. The viewpoints expressed in the preceding program were not necessarily those of WRU, its license holder, or its staff, even though it should be. Thanks for joining us on WRU LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul.
So.